Hello, this is Goga Inzytaj TV, Christian television from Poland. I'm Monika Chojecka. This is Pastor Paweł Chojecki.
Hello.
Hello, and we have a special guest, Alex Newman from the New American Magazine and the John Birch Society. Hello.
Hey guys, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. Polish people talk a lot about Donald Trump and your government shutdown in the US. Can you tell us more details about the situation and what will be the future? What do you think?
Sure. Well, what's happened, for those who don't understand what's going on, our Congress has to authorize money to be spent on things. The president can't spend money without Congress appropriating it, without Congress authorizing that money to be spent. And there are a number of agencies right now that don't have any funding left because the funding expired, it's finished, and now, typically they would pass a bill and authorize more funding for these agencies. Now, Donald Trump has said that I will sign a bill as soon as it arrives with funding to build a border wall and to properly enforce our immigration laws. And the Democrats, who control the House of Representatives, have said, no, we won't give you money for your border wall, and we won't give you more money for border security. You just have to sign the legislation. Our president signs legislation into law, and he has the authority to veto it, to stop it from becoming law. So President Trump has said he would veto any legislation that doesn't have money for his wall. The Democrats said he's not getting any money for his wall. And so now we've entered this shutdown period. And, the media really overblows it. They say, oh, my goodness, the world's coming to an end. The government is shut down. First of all, the government is not really shut down, right? They only send the non-essential workers home. And it really makes you wonder, what kind of private company in the world would have non-essential workers? It's ridiculous. But apparently the federal government's got a lot of them. And second of all, it really doesn't bother most people in their normal lives. Most people don't notice that the government is so-called shut down. It's really just a few people who've gone home and so on. But now they're trying to work out a compromise. The Democrats say, well, we'll give you a little bit of money, but you can't build a wall. And Trump says, no, I want to build a wall. And so they've been going back and forth on this for a while. The media is, of course, making as much hysteria as possible and saying, oh, it's all Trump's fault and everybody's going to, have big problems from the shutdown. So that's the situation. Trump is trying to stand firm so that we can enforce the border. He knows that this may be his one and only shot to get the money he needs to build the wall. And Democrats, they're relying on illegal immigrants to give them future votes. And so they don't want the wall, right? They want lots and lots of illegal immigrants who will continue to vote Democrat so they can eventually have a one-party state. And some of them have been very open about this, right? We want to bring as many immigrants as possible because they're going to vote for big government and abortion and against, traditional conservative evangelical America. So that's the kind of situation that we're in right now. And it's very sad. And as of right now, there's no ending on the horizon. But you never know. That could change very soon if the Democrats compromise and Trump compromises and they come up with something. But hopefully, this will be a good opportunity to get rid of a lot of these non-essential workers, to get the border laws seriously enforced. And so Trump has been standing firm so far.
Are Americans good informed about this situation, or are seduced by left newspapers or televisions?
Well, according to the polling data, Trump is losing popularity, but, and I caution it's a big but, a lot of the polling data that they use is fake. Right? These are the same polls that told us Hillary Clinton was going to win the presidency in a landslide, and that Americans don't like liberty, and that Americans love Obama. So these are a lot of fake polls, and they oftentimes do these polls to try to manipulate what people think rather than actually understand what people think. So I don't think Donald Trump puts a lot of credibility in these polls, and I don't think normal Americans do either. If we believed the polls, Hillary Clinton would be president right now. Right? The New York Times told us it was more than 80% chance Hillary was going to win. The Huffington Compost told us that it was like 98% sure that Hillary was going to win. So these polls are very fake. If you believe the fake polls and the fake media, Trump is this unpopular dictator and everybody hates him. But out in the real world, if you talk to regular Americans, Americans want the wall. Americans want border security. Americans are very concerned about the mass illegal immigration. Even just a few years ago, Democrats were at least said they were very concerned about mass illegal immigration. And so, I think normal everyday Americans, not the crazies out on the far left-wing socialist communist fringe, they do want border security. So.
Yeah, we are glad what you're talking, and send greetings from the Poles to the free Americans and to Donald Trump. We are changing the subject. we want to talk about Chinese communist threat for the USA and for the free world, because Polish intelligence caught 2 Chinese spies last days ahead of Huawei in Poland and a Pole who worked as an advisor of a prime minister. They are supposedly Chinese spies. And can you tell us more about what Donald Trump do with Chinese threat and Chinese spies in the United States?
Yeah, well, very fortunately, Trump is, I think, the first president in my lifetime who's taken seriously the threat of communist Chinese espionage. Occasionally they catch one, and just like it's kind of like an almost obligatory sleepwalking process into catching a spy here and there. But the U.S. government has been asleep at the wheel when it comes to dealing with the espionage crisis. There are tens of thousands, maybe more, communist Chinese agents running around the United States. They intimidate anti-communist Chinese. They do all sorts of, and they've been caught doing this over and over again, not just in the United States, but in Canada. They spy on dissidents, right? In Sweden, a communist Chinese spy was prosecuted for spying on exiled Chinese who were living in Sweden. They spy on the military secrets. They spy on the economic secrets. They get all the secrets from our companies, our military secrets. And this has been going on now for many, many years. And unfortunately, for a long time, our government was in deliberate cooperation with them. If you look at, for example, the Clinton crime family, Bill Clinton, and this all came out in public. This was revealed publicly. Bill Clinton was taking illegal campaign contributions from communist Chinese agents. And then after he won the presidency, he handed all of our most sensitive nuclear and military secrets to the communist Chinese dictatorship. This was a scandal we called Chinagate. This is, in fact, treason. So not only should Clinton have been impeached, he should have been prosecuted and thrown in jail and suffered the consequences for this. Instead, they focused on other scandals, the Monica Lewinsky and the perjury where he lied under oath in court. But it's a very, very serious problem. The communist Chinese have built up their economy on stolen secrets that they've acquired through espionage. They've been manipulating global politics, global economics for a long time now. Some of it's not even secretive anymore. They have actual, open, known communist Chinese agents taking over key posts at international organizations. The head of UNIDO, the UN Industrial Development Organization, is a communist Chinese agent. Until recently, the head of Interpol, right, the self-styled global law enforcement agency, was a communist Chinese agent who was the vice minister of public security for the brutal dictatorship there. So this is an enormous crisis. I think Donald Trump has done the right thing by starting to take this seriously, and we need to take it much more seriously. I'm delighted to hear that Polish authorities are also cracking down on this, and it's time for a full-blown sweep. Anybody who's caught passing secrets or working for this brutal dictatorship needs to suffer the consequences, and they need to be very severe consequences.
Unfortunately, our president said that we need to be neutral to Chinese and to Americans. So, be neutral between these two fighters. And yeah.
In Poland, only our television make big pressure of our government to stop cooperation with communist China, because our government and our president from the Law and Justice Party would like to have a strategic partnership with communist China. They often declared such stuff.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a big problem, and this is happening all over the world. The communist Chinese are buying up influence all over the world. They're buying off politicians all over the world. They're buying up strategic companies all over the world. In Sweden, they bought the 3 most sensitive microchip companies with all sorts of military applications. Nobody was paying attention. And now you have governments and politicians who are scared to say anything about this. In fact, we wrote an article in the New American very recently about the communist China's lobbying campaign in the United States. They're hiring lobbyists. They're buying off politicians. They're spending huge money. They're infiltrating our universities. They're infiltrating our high technology companies. This is a crisis of enormous proportions. The communist Chinese have already made clear they have ambitions to rule the world. They talk openly about a new world order, and that even George Soros here in the United States talks about that the communist Chinese should own the new world order, that they have a better functioning government than the United States. This is the globalist agenda: build up communist China, and allow them to kind of dominate the architecture of global governance for the purpose of building a totalitarian world system. And the espionage is a huge part of this. I hope people will do the research, and I hope politicians and people in law enforcement, people in intelligence and counterintelligence will take this threat very seriously. This is one of the largest threats to freedom around the world, and unfortunately it's not being addressed.
And we have our correspondent in Taiwan, editor Hannah Shen, and she was also reported that Bill Clinton, for example, was cooperate with Chinese communists. These articles are on our website, and we are alarming our authorities that communist Chinese are the threat, not the friend.
Yeah. And let's change point of high concentration to Middle East.
Yes, because in February there will be a Polish-American conference in Warsaw about peace and security in the Middle East. And I think that the main subject of this conference will be the threat from the Islamic Iran to the free world. And there are a lot of propaganda in Poland from this pro-Islamic, pro-Russian and pro-Chinese circles that the Iran is a very good ally of Poland, and this is the very interest to cooperate with Islamic Iran. And do you can you say something more about situation in the Middle East and the situation in Islamic Iran? Is it right to cooperate with Iran now?
I would say absolutely not. I mean, Iran is a brutal dictatorship, and it's kind of a very good illustration of the red-green axis, where you have communists and socialists in open cooperation with Islamists. It's a very dangerous trend. Now, I fall kind of somewhere on the moderate middle, I would say. In the United States, there's a lot of globalists and neoconservatives who want us to go wage war everywhere, and we need to go overthrow Iran and bomb it and get stuck in a war there. I would disagree with that, but at the same time, those who are trying to say that we should cooperate with Iran, that we need to give them money, that we need to allow all of our businesses to ship technology there. I mean, that's crazy. And unfortunately, Obama fell very much in this category. He was sending them all sorts of money illegally, literally sending planes full of cash money, pallets of cash to the dictatorship in Iran. And I think Iran is going to play an important role in what's developing geopolitically. They're very closely allied with Moscow, very closely allied with China, and very closely allied with the dictatorships in Latin America, like the Venezuelan regime and the Cuban regime. Of course, they're supporting terror movements all over the world. But unfortunately, there's a lot of neoconservatives and globalists in the United States who want to overthrow the dictatorship there and install even more crazy people. Right? There's a group called Mujahideen-e-Khalq, and this was listed as a terrorist organization for many, many years by the U.S. State Department. And these people are absolutely crazy. They're basically an Islamo-Marxist cult. They've murdered American military officers. They're just absolutely nutty. And you have neocons and globalists in the United States who want to replace the current lunatics running Iran with these new lunatics. And I think that's a very dangerous idea as well. So as far as I'm concerned, the U.S. government ought to just make clear that, we're not going to invade you. We're not going to mess with you. But you do any problems, and of course, you'll suffer the consequences. But we're not going to partner with you. And, anybody in Poland who's saying that Iran is a good ally of Poland, I would question how they could come to that kind of conclusion.
Have you been confused about the name of this conference, Peace and Security, which is a very obvious biblical term connected with the end times?
When they say peace and security, then the bad days will happen, right? Yeah. Very good. Yeah, and it's incredible to me, the biblical illiteracy that allows this kind of rhetoric to pass unnoticed among the general populace. It's an indictment, I think, of our churches and our pastors that people don't know this stuff, right? Why don't you know what it says in your Bible? And I think that's partly the fault of so many pastors, not just in Poland, but in the United States as well, who are not teaching their congregations what the Bible says. So I'm so pleased that you are bringing these facts to light, Pastor Pavel, and wish we had many, many more pastors like you. So.
Thank you.
You can, pass to the Americans or to Donald Trump that not to use this term peace and security because, it is from the last chapter of the Bible, the last.
It's
Book of Revelation.
it's
from
a term
Revelation.
reserved for globalist conspiracy.
Yeah. That's why we are talking about, and we are think what will be in this conference, and we are glad that this conference will be in Warsaw, because we hope that we will be in the coalition with the free world, not with Islam or communist or Catholic friendship and alliance, but with Americans and Donald Trump.
But there was in Poland reaction of communists, because there was a few days ago there was a lot of alarms, bombing alarms in some main government places in the whole Poland, and the proclamation of this terrorist was that we are arm together with our Iranian brothers, and we will fight this Jewish conspiracy and so on.
What a mess. And, we have those same kind of voices in the United States. Unfortunately, some of them have infiltrated the highest levels of the Democratic Party. It's a giant mess. And, again, it's a big part because there's so much biblical illiteracy. People just have not read their Bibles, and, they wouldn't know truth if it was a snake and it bit them in the face.
So on the last thing, what will be your statement to those Poles who think that cooperation with Islamic Iran is a good thing?
I would urge you to look at the track record of the dictatorship in Iran. It is oppressive. It persecutes Christians. It is, exporting terrorism. It is allied with mass murdering regimes around the world. It is itself a mass murdering regime. And, that's not the kind of friends you want to hang out with. My grandma always used to say, you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. And it's a very good saying. You don't want to be associated with those kinds of people, those kinds of regimes. There's no reason for that. The American people are always willing to extend a hand of friendship, and better to be friends with Americans than with mass murdering dictatorship. So.
Okay, so we will pass your words to the Poles. Thank you so much. Our special guest was our correspondent in America, Alex Newman from the New American Magazine and the Jordan Bird Society. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. This was Go Against the Tide TV, Christian Television, Pastor Paweł Chojecki.
Thank you.
Eunika Chojecka. Goodbye.